Let me let you in on a little industry secret. Having a gaming channel ironically makes it harder to enjoy games. Not that it lessens your actual enjoyment of games, but it makes it harder to just play whatever you want. You're constantly thinking of how milkable the game you're playing is for content. Sometimes I want to get into an old classic that I missed, but I can't because I know that it's not something that gets clicks nowadays. If I'm playing a game and I have a gaming channel, the big brain move is to combine fun with business and play a game that I can use on the channel. So when I felt particularly shit one day recently, I saw Genshin Impact on my feed and I was like, frick it, I'm just gonna dive into this without overthinking it just to distract myself. I've had it on my radar for quite a while, but I didn't really know a ton about it. I thought it was probably some pay to win gacha weeb bait, so I wouldn't really have much to say about it on the channel. But here we are! I spent the rest of that day exploring the game's world, looting and earning new waifus, hopelessly feeling an addiction creep up. When I realized I'd be making content off of this, I started justifying playing 10 hours of it per day by recording the gameplay material. No, Mom, I don't need to go to college, and I'm not just wasting my life away on video games. You just don't understand the hustle of a YouTuber. Which is why I now have like 300 gigs of Genshin videos, and you best believe I'm gonna use all of it for this video. So what is this game even? Well, like any competent game journalist will tell you, if it's cel-shaded, that means it's a Breath of the Wild clone. And it also has anime girls, so it's Breath of the Wild with anime girls. You know how they say sex sells? Well, in 2020, virtual waifus sell. Playboy? Pfft. Does anyone under 95 even buy that anymore? Titty streamers?
Your titties are invading my personal space.
Some bright business minds realize that these new generations of lonely, depressed weebs care more about 2D cartoon girls than real women, and are currently getting rich off of it. 7 out of the 10 highest earning super chat channels are VTubers.
Shit, cold, nado. Fucking cold, nado.
And I have to admit, I kinda like all of it. Unlike 10 years ago, it's now cool to be a lonely, depressed weeb. So back to the actual game. Like I mentioned, it's a gacha game, meaning you unlock characters and weapons of different ranks through a random roll system. It's like loot boxes, but they're actually honest about it being gambling. However, don't click away yet because there's actually much more to this game that I'll get into later. I personally always thought that this concept of gacha monetization was absurdly stupid. I think the only gacha game I tried to get into was Bleach on mobile, and that lasted like 1 day. But there are entire communities of people who are specifically into these games. From my very limited knowledge, they seem to be the people more into stats and analytics than actual gameplay. They figure out all the metas, they analyze the drop rates to figure out how long they'll need to farm currency to get certain things, etc. It's a bit bizarre to see so much math and discussions about games, but I think it's cool that it's so different, and it did kinda change my perspective on gacha games. Like, don't get me wrong, the system itself is still exploitative dog shit, but the communities, they're kinda cool. Where I think Genshin Impact shines is in bridging the gap between these hardcore gacha nerds and casual normies like me. Yes, there is a billion things in this game triggering your brain's reward response at all times and getting you hooked so you spend money down the line, but if you're conscious of this and look past it, there's a damn good game behind all of it. I feel like a lot of you are going to wonder about this, so let me get it out of the way first. You don't need to spend any money on this game. After quite a few hours of having a blast with it, I still haven't spent a single penny on it. Many games of this type limit your progress and the things you can do, so you're forced to either wait a long time or dish out cash. But I can't say I've felt that obvious artificial barrier in Genshin. Keep in mind that the game itself is also free to play. If anything, I'd say it gets a little more grindy on higher levels when the controversial resin system comes into play. Will this become worse the more you play? Probably, but if you've gotten 50 hours of enjoyment out of a game, is it really that outrageous to throw a few bucks its way? Obviously not, because the game made like a fucktillion dollars the first month after launch. It's actually the highest earning mobile game for that period after launch. I can't speak about the current endgame because I'm the ADD type to get distracted every step of the way, so I haven't yet done all of the quests and leveled everything up as much as I could have, but I feel like just the fact that I've been playing this for weeks without spending money on it is enough for me to say that you don't need to spend money on it to enjoy it. I think a lot of people's problem with this game is that they're not approaching it it right. And not because they're dumb idiots, but because the game does look like 10 different fucking games at the same time. Is it a JRPG? A mobile gacha game? An MMO? Or just a plain straight up single player RPG? Who knows? I don't know. I don't think the studio that made it knows. And you know, I never claimed to be an expert in video games just because I have a gaming channel, but I do enjoy this game, so let me just tell you how I enjoy it. I don't treat it like an MMO. I treat it like the single player game that it is, outside of the limited co-op. I feel like the fact that it does have MMO elements makes it easy to obsess over the meta, character, weapon, and artifact stats, and the perfect team composition, but you gotta remember that you're ultimately playing a single player game for the sake of enjoying it and not getting your rank up or competing in PvP. For me, the gacha is just a cool bonus. I just upgrade the shit that I have enough so that I can feel like I'm progressing through the game, just like I would do in a single player RPG, and then enjoy the stuff that doesn't require such meticulous attention. So now to get into the exciting stuff, which is the actual gameplay. I can tell you I expected way less when I first got into it. This world is packed with stuff to do. Even though it was made by an indie Chinese studio, the game feels maybe not Red Dead Redemption 2, but still. Yes, the gameplay obviously draws a lot from Breath of the Wild, but it also adds a lot of its own flair. I don't have a problem with this. Some games are just so good and revolutionary that they spawn a whole subgenre of games, and these games all have the potential to add something new to the table. This is possibly a topic for a whole entire video, so I don't want to get into it too much now. You have a default roster of characters, some obtained through the story, and some as rewards that everyone eventually gets. The point of the entire game is to collect the ultimate squad of cute anime girls and go to sleep pretending they're real and that you've actually accomplished something. Everything in the game, including all of the characters, looks quirky, fun, and full of personality. Your adorable companion Paimon is an incredibly fun and likable character.
But that's not the point. Paimon's not hallucinating.
Just don't ever browse the Genshin subreddit or you won't be able to look at her the same way. Just trust me. The main quests in the game are all fully voice acted, and the English voices are so good that I didn't even feel the need to switch to Japanese. Okay, calm down. Lisa's climbing sounds just as erotic in English. You thirsty weebs can shut up now. The quests themselves do follow a story, but honestly, I didn't really even pay that much attention to it. It's kind of a classic fairy tale, not too complicated, which is good if you want to just shut off your brain for a while. Each character has abilities based on one of the 6 elemental powers: rock, wind, electricity, fire, water, and ice. These all interact with each other in certain ways, and this makes the combat of Genshin so fucking fun. You can use 4 characters at a time in your party, and you can have a few different party presets. Switching between characters is instantaneous, and it's something you'll be doing very often. You see an enemy that's electric, you switch to your fire character to cause a reaction. You see a water type enemy, you freeze it with your ice boy. You see an enemy that's not using any element, set them on fire, switch to electric, release your ability, switch back to your main DPS, and just furiously spam left click while he's getting obliterated by fire plus electric reactions. The combat is just so fun, fluid, and fast paced that it almost never gets boring. Also, thankfully, no weapon durability. But you know what's even more fun than the combat? Gliding. Aside from combat, the exploration is the second best part of this game. The game has a pretty big world right now, but I'm sure it'll expand even more with future updates. The 2 main cities, Mondstadt and Liyue, are both unique and fun to walk around. You get some very lo-fi type beach scenery with the sunsets, colorful trees, etc. Climbing the tallest mountain in the region feels good. You'll always find some loot at the top, but the bigger reward is the view. Don't get me wrong, the world isn't anything revolutionary by any means, but for what it is, it's well made. The scenery is genuinely pretty, and navigation is buttery smooth. So, just these two things, the combat and exploration, are enough for me to recommend this game. Hey, it's free to play, and the only thing you have to lose is your sense of self-worth, so why not give it a shot? But, of course, that's not all there is to this game. There's a ton of stuff to collect and keep track of in Genshin, and my pee-pee-poo-poo Neanderthal ADD brain would usually have a hard time with that, but the fact that everything is eye candy makes it easier. The UI and the cute, colorful item icons are all pleasant to look at. When you get rewarded with chests around every corner for simply existing, the items that pop out are all shiny and attractive. Yeah, it's always the same shit in these chests, and it gets boring after a while, but at least it looks as good as it can. Of course, chests are not the only way you get rewarded. When you summon the so-called wishes that give you RNG loot, them shits fall from the sky, bro. They go far and beyond to make you feel like a special little boy or girl every time you get rewarded. And by the way, you get rewarded a ton. I still keep finding new ways for a chest to pop up. Sometimes it's literally like, pick these carrots sitting around in a circle and boom, a chest pops up in the middle. Bring these shiny floating things to some concrete cubes, boom, chest. Stand on a certain completely unmarked branch, chest. It's literally absurd, but that's also what makes it fun, at least until it gets boring. So what are the things the game rewards you with? Obviously, the main thing you can win are characters, and nothing beats the feeling of getting a character you wanted. Of course, you may never end up getting the exact one you want, even after sinking thousands of dollars into the game, which is where your perspective I was talking about earlier comes into play. Considering you don't need any of the non-default characters, you can be happy with what you got and focus on other things. You can even think, isn't it kind of cool that my friend and I have different experiences with the same game because he pulled different characters? That, or you can let the pent-up anger from being jealous of your friend's waifus eat away at you from the inside until you uninstall the game and burn down his house. Other than characters, wishes also give you weapons of different rarities. But to get wishes, you need a currency called primogems to buy the other currency called fates, which you need in order to pull a wish. Of course, you can buy the crystal currency with real money that you can exchange for the primogem currency. There is also the in-game currency called Mora, which you use pretty much whenever you take a shit, and of course the sigil currency used to buy whatever, I don't even care, as well as Stardust and Star Glitter currencies, and who could forget the resin currency? As you can tell, this game gets you used to buying and spending. I know it sounds convoluted, but honestly, it's not that hard to understand. This game, unlike most RPGs, barely levels you up organically as you play. Instead, you get level up items from chests, quests, bosses, and dungeons, and you choose where to invest them and when. You level up your character with these paper book-like things that give you XP, and you level weapons with other weapons or XP gems. You can find all of these in abundance by exploring, but when your character or weapon get to a certain level, you need to ascend them in order to level them further by using special items. The only thing artificially limiting your progression is the fact that to get these special items from bosses or dungeons, you need to spend resin, which is a currency that recharges over time and does so at a pretty slow rate. Like I said, as someone who takes his time and does a lot of side activities, this hasn't really been a big problem for me. I don't need to ascend and level everything up today because I play this game casually. I go around the world doing random activities or completing quests, and my characters and weapons are all leveled up enough to keep up with the scaling enemies. But if you are someone who's already on adventure rank 20 on your first day, then this is definitely a problem to keep in mind. A lot of people are complaining about this though, so it's entirely possible that they'll tweak the system in a future update.
There were at least 2 wolves, and they must be... Yes, they must be at least 2 meters high.
Stupid! Overall, this game is surprisingly good. By that I mean it surprises you at every step of the way. Well, I've kind of just spoiled a lot of it to you, so it might not be as surprising, but I'm sure it'll still break some of your expectations. For example, I was sure that my choices don't really influence anything in this game. You do have dialogue options that barely change a few lines, but the gameplay is pretty linear and straightforward. So you have these daily quests called commissions that you can use to farm some primogems every day, and these are usually pretty small small and repetitive. So I got this commission from a little annoying pigeon boy to feed some ducks in the nearby lake. I've done this same thing once before, but now when I went down to feed them, I just felt like impaling all of the ducks with arrows. Not only did the kid freak out at this, which is good because he was annoying anyway, but the next day I got a new commission that was triggered by the duck massacre. His mom wanted me to bring his favorite food to him to comfort him because he was so upset that his little ducks got brutally murdered. Definitely nothing too special, but still unexpected and interesting. So in conclusion, I wouldn't recommend this game to people with a spending/gambling tendency, MMO players, and completionists. This is because the upgrade materials and currencies are hard to farm once you get to the higher levels. 5-star characters are very rare, and you also need to pull like 5 of the same character in order to be able to use their full potential. I mean, if you got money to burn, then that's your choice, buddy. I'm just a random idiot on the internet. Thank you for watching. This video will probably get half the usual views because I haven't talked about games like this on the channel before, so I know those of you who still clicked and made it till the end are the real no-cap gang fam squad crew team party force posse troop, and I love you more than the others, so leave me a comment and like, and I'll talk to you in the next video.